Now, bigyan ko kayo ng ng practical example. Okay? Let's pretend na kunwari as a woke person, an individual, they may see things that are kunwari for male and female na they see it as discriminatory,
Aha, ah.
even if it's not really that way. When we speak of mental health kasi, by definition, it includes our holistic well-being. So, nandyan yung emotional, psychological, and social well-being with also reference to our physical well-being. Kasi we cannot do away with that, with our biological self. Also, we can encapsulate our spiritual well-being also, which is also embraced by practitioners of psychology. Now, that's the first point. Yung well-being, yung health. Okay ka in all aspects of your life. Next, the second point of mental health is how we think, feel, and behave. Okay? Ulitin ko yung pangalawa, thinking, feeling, and behaving or acting. So that's cognitive, affective, and psychomotor. So our thoughts, when they are positive, when they are good, our feelings, okay, when they're generally okay or good, and our behaviors, we can qualify it as good when they are adaptive. Mabuti sa atin at mabuti sa mga tao sa paligid natin. That's mental health. And the third point, there are also other aspects of mental health. Okay, so ipapasok na natin yun sa others like handling stress, coping with stress. Okay, kasi everybody has their share of suffering. Everybody has their share of problems, issues, concerns. So we say a person is mentally healthy when even amidst of these challenges, they are able to function well. Okay? Next, relate to others and make healthy choices. So that's also mental health. Paano ka bilang isang tatay, bilang isang asawa, kaibigan, co-worker, okay? And then make healthy choices. We can say that a person is mentally healthy if the choices that he or she makes is good for oneself and good for others. Okay, tapos there other aspects of mental health like it's according to World Health Organization, it's a basic human right, and it's also critical to personal, community, and socio-economic development. Therefore, yung kumbaga, in short, may ambag sa lipunan. Okay? May role in the society. So, now, how do we assess children? How do we assess in my profession if one is mentally unhealthy or not? So, titingnan natin lahat ng aspects na yon. Kumusta po yung daily functioning? Okay, okay ba ang tulog, ang kain? Okay, kamusta ang relationships? Okay, nakaka-relate ba? Nakakapag-usap ba? Nakakapag-form ba ng friendships? Okay ba with the family? Okay ba with the classmates, with the workmates, like that? Kumusta naman yung emotional well-being? We check the mood. So, it's normal to be sad. It's normal to feel worried. It's normal and it's healthy to have some fears also. Pero, when it's in a normal level or sumosobra na, okay, when it's in a level that is no longer rational, if it's in a level that is no longer functional, ganyan, if it hinders us to work well, if it causes discomfort, we can classify it as mentally unhealthy na. Next, also yung number 2, yung sinabi ko kanina na interrelated na thinking, feeling, and behaving. Okay, pag sinabi nating unhealthy ang isang tao, there could be negative patterns of thought, negative feelings, negative behaviors, okay, na nag-overlap with one another. Ayun, hindi siya separate eh. Hindi pwedeng negative ako mag-isip, pero positive ako gumawa and positive yung feeling ko. Somehow, it relates to each other, okay? So, ayun po lahat ng aspects. And then, you also ask po yung how we differentiate, yung sinabi niyong term na disorder po.
Disorder.
Yes, and
Even illness, di ba? May...
even illness, okay. So, we can classify disorders naman. Disorder po kasi, by the way, is a clinical diagnosis na. Okay po? So, it's different from having unhealthy behaviors. Okay? Meron tayong technical term na 4Ds of abnormality. Okay? So, yung 4 na D na ito, it's una, deviance, statistical deviance. It ranges from the normal. It ranges out of the normal, beyond the normal. Okay? And then, there's also discomfort. Uncomfortable. May physical symptoms. Usually, kunwari, masakit ang ulo. Okay, nahihirapan matulog. Hindi makahinga. Ganon. Masakit ang tightness sa dibdib, tightness sa muscles. Okay, so those are signs of discomfort. What else? Dysfunction. Also, hindi na makapagtrabaho. And for students, we can see that as repetitive na absenteeism. Okay, hindi makapag-aral, hindi makapag-function well, or hindi lang in occupational setting bilang kunwari asawa, bilang provider, hindi mo nagagawa yon yung roles mo. Bilang parent, hindi naaalagaan yung anak, so that's dysfunction. And next is, nasabi ko na po yung deviance. Discomfort, dysfunction, and then there is also dangerousness po. So, when we say dangerousness naman, it causes harm to yourself and to others. Okay? So, yung extreme forms of mental unhealth or mental disorder, yun na yung kunwari, anger outbursts na nakakapanakit na, violent tendencies. Towards the self naman, self-harm, self-inflicting behavior, self-destructive behavior, and the worst din po na parang that could happen to the self is completed suicide po. So, yun po, masasabi natin siyang disorder when these are present. Also po, what clinicians do about it, they also rule out other factors. Okay? Paano po natin masasabing kailangan i-rule out yung other factors? Pag kunwari sabihin natin, ay itong individual na to 2 weeks nang malungkot. And then we figure out, kaya palang 2 weeks nang malungkot, nagmo-mourn. Okay? Galing sa breakout.
Nako. Factor pala yun.
Pero nakaka-experience ng abuse. Okay? So, we have to rule out those factors. Pwede rin naman may biological causes. Cost ng medication or merong problem with the thyroid or other problem like that. Opo.
Ayun, salamat. Go ahead.
May maraming mga tao na may symptom na nararamdaman sa katawan, lalo pag, for example, walang pera. Nagmamanifest sa mental health.
Grabe. Oo nga. Stressful yan. Anyway, ipapasok natin yung theme ng show na ito, which is wokeness. And I would like to ask, because studies have shown that conservatives are happier than liberals. May studies nito, and liberals are more likely to have a mental health condition. Why is this? Bakit ang liberalism or wokeness, it worsens the mental health? Why do you think so?
So, I have read those articles that you have sent to me. I mean, prior to this po, And then, upon review, oo nga, bakit nga? Bakit nga ang wokeism should be considered as parang it's a red flag for mental health, okay? So, the reason why tinanggap ko din talaga itong invitation na to is that I want to raise awareness on that topic. Okay? First, yun nga, nabanggit ko kanina, the very basics of mental health. Now, let's go to wokeness. Okay? What is the problem with wokeness? What do we have in common with people who are woke? And then what went wrong? So, we have woke because they are fighting for social justice. Tama po ba? Yun ang parang pinaglalaban nila.
That's their claim, yeah. That's their
They
claim.
are against discrimination. They fight for equity, fairness, and all of those social issues. And we are one with them with that. Now, where lies the problem of wokeness? Ito po, they go to the extremes. Okay, so these are based on empirical data. I have seen also the studies of that proves why there is a strong relationship between risk factors of mental health and wokeness. Now, pupunta tayo dun sa second point ko on mental health, di ba? It's supposed to be the cognitive, affective, and the behavioral aspect must be at least positive. Now, pag titingnan natin yung mga woke people, di ba, they are going to the extremes. They go beyond. They ask for rights that are not really rights. Okay, sometimes they're even stepping on boundaries pa. Okay? So now, ano yung problem in terms of the cognitive aspect of wokeness? Why do we have to raise this as a mental health concern? Now, kapag woke kasi, usually, they have this hypersensitivity to social issues. Unlike conservatives or those who are in a neutral position. Okay, so anong danger ng hypersensitivity na to? The danger lies in their perception of things, and then nagkakaroon ng cognitive biases, and then the cognitive negative thoughts, and then that affects the feelings and the behaving. Now, bigyan ko kayo ng practical example. Okay? Let's pretend na kunwari as a woke person, an individual, they may see things that are kunwari for male and female na they see it as discriminatory. Even if it's not really that way. Also, yung dun sa research, yung ginamit na scale, there were items na supposedly there is no discrimination that is involved. Okay, kunwari, ako sasabihin ko, I'm a proud Filipina. To non-woke people, it is a neutral statement, or possibly a positive statement. Pero, some wokes may perceive it negatively. They may perceive it as offensive pa. Na proud white ka, proud Filipina ka, so anti-black ka. Okay? So, pwedeng magkaganon. That's cognitive pa lang. Now, let's go to the affect. If your cognitions, if your way of thinking, your perceptions are negative, so dyan papasok yung link towards anxiety, towards depression. Yung, kunwari, before, the issue of pronouns was not really an issue.
Yes.
Yung kunwari, pag yung salesperson pagod na or nalito lang, matawag kang sir, matawag kang ma'am, it's something to laugh about. Pero bakit ngayon, it becomes a legal case? 'Di ba? So, dyan papasok yung aggression, dyan papasok yung anxiety, dyan papasok yung even feelings of hostility, na feeling of helplessness, feeling na you're a victim, feeling na you're unwanted, feeling na people are against you, you are judged, you are discriminated. Okay, so mag-ingat tayo doon. Next, behaving. Okay, bakit po mataas ang mental health risk ng woke culture? Mataas yung tendency to be among people who have aggressive tendencies kasi they fight they claim to fight for what they believe is true. So, mataas yung chances na you would be among those who would spread hate, among those who would be opposing institutions that are existing, like the family, religion, the government, okay? Institutions like even companies or schools. What else? There is also the tendency to seclude oneself from the family. Kunwari na, they don't like me cross-dressing, o sige, ika-cut off ko na lang sila. O negative, maladaptive behavior. Okay? So, that's the danger of wokeism po. As I can see it. Opo.
Grabe, ang kumpleto ng discussion ni Mika. And from what I see, AJ, mukhang chicken and egg itong claim din nila eh. Kasi ang claim nila is, and from what I hear, ang claim nila mostly is discriminated sila. Sabi nga nila kaya happier ang conservatives is because much privileged daw ang conservatives. So yun yung term na nagagamitin, privileged. Pero as you said, Mika, medyo parang self-fulfilling prophecy tuloy ang nangyayari for them. Because you already have that assumption, medyo nagkakaroon kayo ng kumbaga na namamanifest nyo sa paligid nyo yung mga assumptions na yan dahil sa ito yung inasyo mo sa mundo.
Kwento ko lang din. Naranasan ko yan eh, yung parang feeling oppressed. Kasi dito medyo challenging dahil iba-iba yung lahi. America is a melting pot.
AJ, sa mga hindi nakakalam. Yeah.
So, naka-experience ako ng customer na kasi I was the cashier for the day. Hindi ko lang siya napansin, pero parang napauna ko yung kasi yung dito kapag pumila sila, minsan hindi naman napaka-informal ng pila, hindi naman straight na katulad ng Parang, so hindi ko na siya napansin. And this person happens to be a black person. So he brought out the race card. Like pinauna mo ba siya dahil itim ako? Because I'm a black person. I said, sir, no. I actually do not see color as people usually do. It's just that hindi ko talaga napansin kasi sa sobrang busy, may call pa rito, meron pang inuutos sa atin. It was an honest mistake. Pero people sometimes really are hypersensitive about these things. Yun na nga. It's because gusto ko rin yung sinabi ni Mika na people tend to associate and group themselves according to how they believe and perceive the world to be. So sometimes it cannot be helped.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I would also like to add po also the tendency to dwell on these increases pa the risk of anxiety and depression. So if you're surrounding yourself with puro na lang kunwari your group of people ang walang ibang ginagawa kung hindi i-share yung mga accounts of discrimination which really happen pero it's not the whole world. Kumbaga you view the world as completely negative na pero this is not to invalidate those who have experienced discrimination din naman talaga. Those who were bullied because of their belief systems. Yes, we validate them and as much as possible, we do our best to accommodate them, to help them, to assist them. Yun lang talaga, we are raising awareness on when we exert too much effort on wokeness na, which is harmful na. Okay, na kunwari, the demand to have a comfort room for all genders, isn't it too much to ask? A comfort room na pwedeng magkasama ang babae at lalaki. Parang isip na trigger na may hiwalay na CR ang babae.
Controversial yan
It was a trigger before. Diba? Yeah. And it isn't a trigger to most people naman.
Yeah. Maganda yung sinabi mo and hindi ko sure kung concept ito sa psychology yung positive feedback loop, di ba? Yung anxiety when you're anxious and pag pinag-isipan mo yung anxiety mo, mas ma-anxious ka pa eh. And magiging siyang feedback loop, di ba? there. I guess next question is it possible that society is placing too much emphasis on mental health nowadays? That it's been used as an excuse for many to skip not doing things that are quite normal or expected for us. Gaya nung sinabi mo, may marami silang reklamo, then gagamitin lang yung mental health card. For example, yung younger generation of employees asking for more leeway to be absent, to take mental health breaks, or yung their need for trigger warnings muna, di ba? Usually mga palabas ngayon may mga trigger warnings, or the tendency to blame their bad behavior on their mental health issues.
Apo.
What do
So,
you think?
that's an excellent question po. Sa aking palagay, bilang isang mental health professional, you know what? You can never be too concerned about your mental health. That's the first point. And the second point, nakakatuwa, I've also subscribed to this podcast of psychologists who are Catholic in their practice also, na alam nyo, mental health daw, according to them, is a moral obligation.
Please
Okay?
share nga pala kung sino itong
Yeah. Na parang, it's my moral obligation to keep myself mentally healthy. Okay? So, gusto ko munang balikan yung first point. Okay, una na bakit you can never be too concerned about your mental health. I think the problem is not the concern on mental health because at every moment of your life, at every second, you could always step back and examine, tama ba yung iniisip ko? Tama ba yung nararamdaman ko? And tama ba yung ginagawa ko? As Catholics or Christians who are listening to this podcast, that's mindfulness in a Catholic sense. That's being aware of yourself. That's something like examination of conscience, discernment of the spirits, right? Ganon,
Right.
you can never dwell too much on your mental health. Siguro kung saan tayo nagkakaproblema is the manner on how we try to find that help na minsan mali na. Okay? Kasi there are persons, opo, tama, some people may use it as an excuse, which is mali. Okay? So, nabanggit ko kanina, an aspect of mental health is being able to handle stress well. So, in the field of psychology, this may be termed as grit or resilience, di ba? Or coping strategies, ganon. So, and also being able to function well, to realize your full potential as a human being with all your capacities, your talents, your skills, your passion, that's mental health. Ngayon, kung kunwari empleyado ako and I take a leave for 1 month for kunwari may mental health problem, dalawa lang yon. Either it's valid kasi yun na ang gano'n nakatindi yung mental health concern niya na kailangan ng i-balance yung physiological state niya or yung state ng katawan, ibalik yung sleep, ibalik yung eating habits, i-medicate, okay, pwedeng valid yun. Pero pangalawa, I get your point, sometimes it becomes invalid, na it becomes an excuse. Na kunwari, I have to prioritize my mental health, di muna ako magsasubmit ng requirements ko. I have to prioritize my mental health. Hindi ko muna kakausapin yung nanay ko. I have to prioritize my mental health. Iiwan ko muna yung mga anak ko. Okay?
Or di mo na ako papasok ng trabaho.
Oo, hindi mo na ako papasok na ano. No, that's not mental health, okay? Kasi pwede mong gawin yon, okay? Pero at the end of the day, you wouldn't feel fulfilled kasi pwedeng magkaroon pa rin ng guilt, ng regret. At the end of the day, you will have to face consequences na bakit ko ginawa yun. Magsasuffer ka pa rin because of the result of your actions. Pagagalit sa yung anak mo, mga co-workers mo, mga tao sa paligid mo. Okay, so you can never be too concerned about your mental health. It's just the manner of achieving it. Nagkakaproblema tayo. Opo.
And then, Gusto ko
Opo.
sana mag-call in later. Sabihin ko, nasabihan tuloy ako.
Ganun, ano. And then,
Okay.
next po, yung doon sa mental health is an obligation, a moral obligation. Okay, so we have viewers here who are Christians. We have viewers here who practice siguro different religions, but we believe na mental health, una, is a grace in the spiritual sense, ha? And mental health is also something that we can achieve. Okay, it's not something that's impossible or out of reach. And next, how does it become an obligation? Okay, so dun sa podcast that I heard, which is very good, okay, credits to Divine Mercy University and
Yun.
the Thomistic Institute. Oo, mga favorite
Right.
ko yan. Catholic Psych Podcast, by the way. Bakit obligation ang mental health? Okay, you know what? Kasi when you're geared into loving others, okay, when your mission and purpose in life is very clear to you, you would see to it that you are able to take good care of yourself to function well. So, there is a beautiful term na sabi nga, desire casts out desire. Napakaganda in the field of psychology na it isn't only medications that help the persons who are mentally ill. Alam nyo yung mga in rehabilitations, those who are overcoming addiction, those who are overcoming depression, anxiety, suicidal ideation, the greatest protective factor sa kanila is simply love. There are persons, and these are evidence-based, there are studies na nilabanan ko ang alcohol, ang pagyoyosi, ang bisyo, lahat yan because I love this person. I love my wife, I love my kids, I love my family, I love my parents. Okay? And then it becomes a moral obligation. Kahit tayo, di ba? Pagpapasok tayo sa workplace, sa family natin, minsan kahit masama ang pakiramdam natin, or yung teachers who are listening here, di ba mga teachers, kahit sobrang sakit ng ulo natin, we do our best to smile in front of our kids. We do our best to be happy. We do our best to take good care of us. It's a moral obligation to the people around us.
Yeah. Tama. May sasabihin lang ako, ang ganda nung sinabi ni Mika, and uso kasi ngayon yung it's okay to be not okay na slogan, di ba?
Opo.
Which is okay naman, but ang hindi okay is to remain not being okay. Because from what I hear, mukhang meron kang moral obligation to improve your mental health. Dahil kung mananatili ka lang na not okay at hindi mo piliting maging okay, hindi mo ginagawa ang iyong moral obligation.
Opo, ayan. And I would also like to add that yung it's okay not to be okay. Yes, it's okay to feel emotions. Na tao tayo eh. 'Di ba? There's a normal level of sadness, of fear, of anger. 'Di ba? Even the Lord was angry. Even Jesus wept. 'Di ba? And kailan nagiging hindi okay to? When you're being self-destructive na. Okay, kaya important din in the practice of psychology na ine-empower yung individuals, yung clients, to embrace their power of choice. Okay, na sa ngayon hindi ka okay, but what can we do para maging okay ka? Saan kaya tayo nagkakamali? Do we perceive the world na tama? Do we feel na tama? Do we act tama? Okay, it's okay not to be okay, but we have to be responsible for ourselves and the people around us. Valid yung feelings mo, but the way you act, you should be accountable and responsible for that. Valid makaramdam ng galit, pero hindi valid hindi magandang manakit. 'Di ba? Opo, ayun.